Welcome to ConvHERsations with Kristie, brought to you by Herverse, a community where women who lead, build, and grow come together. This is a space for real, unscripted conversations with bold leaders who are creating impact. No fluff, no filters, just honest insights to help you lead well and live fully. Because at Herverse, we believe leadership isn't meant to be done alone. I am confident you are going to love it. So let's get started.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode. I am super excited to have our guest on today. This is Bryan Coley with Real. And Bryan, I am excited for you to introduce yourself and who you are and a little bit about Real. So I'll turn it over to you, my friend.
Well, first of all, I need to ask, are you a fan of like Glinda and Wicked here? You know, there's looks like you got a little Glinda touches to your decor.
There's definitely a lot of pink, right?
I love it. Yes, my name is Bryan Coley. I am the Chief Creative Officer and founder of Real Experiences. And what we do is we do team development with people's favorite movies. So we use movies as a way to help people see themselves more clearly, as well as see each other and feel seen by the people that they work with more clearly.
Oh, Bryan, it is so cool too. And I've had lots of conversations about what you do and how you do it. And it's so incredibly fun. And I really want to know from you, how did this all get started? Like, how did you come up with this idea?
It's definitely a left turn in my career. That's for sure. You know, I started at, I went to NYU Film School, and then I worked at Turner Broadcasting during all the days of launching all the networks like TNT and Cartoon Network and TCM. And so I worked there 12 years, and then I quit and I started a nonprofit theater company, which tells you how wonderful my wife is. We had like a 6-month-old child, and I decided to leave my cushy benefits and my nice salary. So she is a saint. And yeah, but I was really passionate about story, about the idea of helping writers. So we started helping playwrights first develop scripts. And then we moved over to screenwriters and started helping screenwriters with their scripts. And part of the process of getting them to write the script that only they could write was asking what moved them. And quickly that became their favorite movies. So we used to look into their favorite movies for connections and ask questions of their favorite movies, just to find themes that they should write about in their movies. And then fast forward, I ended up making a movie. I wrote, directed a feature film, and I'm in an edit suite for a year, bored out of my mind. And I decided to try this with just some everyday folks at my church, a little small group that I had. And it just blew up. People were changing their lives based on the insights that they were finding in their movies. And so it was like an oil well spewing out of 30 years working in story, of different ways to look into people's movies and ask questions of their movies, and then different audiences. We started about 12 or 13 years ago with married folks and all kinds of nonprofit oriented things, families, small groups, veterans coming back from war. And then I had a friend of mine who was high up at Chick-fil-A here in Atlanta with the support center, and he brought his corporate team, and that was about 9 years ago. And we decided to launch a for-profit, and we have never turned back. We just love it. We love working with corporations. We've done over 600 experiences. We've done over 150 experiences for teams at Chick-fil-A corporate. But we've done all the big brands here in Atlanta: Home Depot, Coke, Georgia Pacific. I've done our government. I've done our schools. I've done, and we've done also some of the folks in your community. We've done Benj Miller we've done work with his organization. We've done work with Ben Wolf and his organization. So just really excited to be with you and be able to kind of explore how this could connect with your audience.
Yeah. Well, so you take these movies and you help people understand like their experiences, but tell me a little bit more about that. Like what does someone receive? Like what are some of the fun things that you've heard about people and how does it work?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that people are always asking. They're like, okay, I get the premise, you're using movies and somehow that's connected to people and everything, but what exactly does it look like? So what people do is they submit their top 10 movies through our app. So if you had a team that was coming to Reel, or if I was coming to you with maybe a gathering, or maybe, it's your annual meeting, or maybe it's just a leadership team trying to figure out their vision, trying to figure out their values. It all works the same, where you submit your top 10 movies as each individual person. So you're bringing yourself to the table. You're bringing your movies to the table. It's not like I'm showing you clips and going, here, let's look at this clip that demonstrates leadership, or let's look at this clip that demonstrates innovation. Like, what I'm trying to do is get you to show me what your values are with your company and connect to your values through your top 10 movies, right? And so we customize experiences so that we can help. And usually those experiences can range from 2 hours to, a full day experience, or it might be a series that we do with companies where the first part is just asking questions of their movies. So just keeping the person in their movies, asking them questions about their movies. And we design those questions around whatever those outcomes are. So if we're looking for your corporate values and speaking to your corporate values, we design questions around your corporate values so that we can bring out from your movies how you look at those corporate values. Or our biggest experience that we love the most is called Storyboard, where we're asking story questions. So we'll ask like a question about character, or a question about desire, or a question about, which character has the biggest internal conflict, or which character grows the most. And those questions are designed to bring out your story. So usually that first part, we call it discovery, is all about asking those questions, letting you watch trailers, maybe having you, show us a YouTube clip or something like that from your movies. Then the second part is what we call conversations. And that is where we do the Jedi mind trick and we say, maybe these insights might have a little bit to do with you. And so let's go explore that. And so, if we're in a character breakout, we might be looking at that character's heroic traits, but then we're turning it and going, well, maybe these heroic traits are your heroic traits. And then all of a sudden everybody in the room lights up and they go, oh my gosh, you are so Braveheart. I mean, or you are so Miranda in The Devil Wears Prada. We hope that doesn't happen. So then that person has the ability to kind of confirm that or not, and try those clothes on and see if they fit. And then we, have everybody else in the room, kind of affirm those things as well, and say, oh my gosh, I saw you last week and you were doing this. And what happens is that person feels seen, they feel like, oh my gosh, you see me, and it's connected to my heart because it's connected to my movies, So it's just a wonderful process of helping people see themselves, but also, and from this unexpected place with their movies, but also helping them see each other more clearly. We have other experiences around support, like how you want to be supported, and it just really provides a map for a team for collaboration of, not missing each other as far as how you want to be supported and how you do support. We've had so many examples of people, it's almost like love languages where they're speaking their love language to the other person, and that love language doesn't hit that other person that well. Like they want gifts and this person's speaking words of affirmations. Yeah. We try to do that from a team level and try to figure out how you work together through the characters of your movies and the way that they reflect that. And then the last one I will say is, we've had a good time. I know your audience is primarily women, and we've had a great time just allowing women to bring voice to what it's like to be a woman in corporate America through our, we call it real listening experience, where we're really exploring, concepts of inclusion, but also concepts of just like how your story is different from everybody else's, and how your character story relates to your story. And so it allows a person who may not be able to have a voice to be able to articulate things about their story or about their struggle or about their experience, but that character in the movie stands in for them and allows them to have sort of that stand-in to go, well, it looks like that, like right there. And it might be a comedy, so it really helps, the medicine go down a little bit or something like that. So anyway, talking too much, but I love So I could talk all day.
No, not talking too much. It's really exciting to hear what you're doing, because it is so true. Some people just don't know how to share their story or what they're feeling, but watching it in a movie, you can identify with it. It's like, oh,
That's right.
that's what I was trying to explain right there, and oh, I've been through that before, and you can feel it. And I heard you with the Devil Wears Prada. Maybe not Meryl Streep's character, but certainly Anne Hathaway, right? Like I
Totally.
know several women who have blossomed when they got into a corporate world that challenged them and really made them really step into their role and own it. And I can definitely see that being something people identify with.
Totally. Yeah. I'll have to, separate from this, I'll have to share with you all the movies that we've seen that have really surprised us, from women picking Leonidas in 300, to women picking, Dirty Dancing, or, The Notebook, or things that might feel a little bit more stereotypical. So we've seen the gamut, where you might have a woman really, identify with a male character very strongly. Like for me, I identify with a woman character very strongly in my top 10. So it's just wonderful because you get to allow the movies to surprise you and really express something about yourself that you weren't expecting.
Yeah, you led me right into the next question that I wanted to ask. What are your top 10 movies, and what are your characters?
Yeah, so some of my top 10 movies are like the ones I'd never take off my list are On Golden Pond, which probably nobody's heard about. It's back in the 80s. Sound of Music. I love sort of the ones that we see a lot on different people's lists, like It's a Wonderful Life is on my list. Shawshank Redemption is on my list. But then, little quirky movies like Stranger Than Fiction that Will Ferrell is in, Family Man, Nicolas Cage film. Life is Beautiful, which is a international film. Let's see, Amadeus, which goes back again to the 80s. I often tell people the best way to look for what your favorite movies are is remember yourself in your 20s or in teenage years, because that's when you were watching movies,
Yeah,
So we get a lot of Gen Xers coming through here, and so you get a lot of 80s films coming through here as well. But yeah, those are some of my movies. And believe it or not, I've had this list for all the years I've been doing Reel, and I just can't change it. And also the crazy thing is I'm constantly doing R&D with it, and it still surprises me. Like it just confirms that your movies are like a well that just keeps giving. It's just not like a one and done kind of thing, so.
Yeah, that's so cool. I hadn't thought about how, there's almost like a core group of movies, and then maybe one or two that changes on occasion, but that's really interesting to think about that.
How about you? Tell me about what's some of your favorite movies?
Oh goodness. Like I was trying to think about that. And some of the ones that come to mind for me is The Notebook. That is probably one of my favorite movies. And then
now, when you think of The Notebook, just to ask, we've had ladies who have identified with Noah, and then we've had ladies identify with Allie. Which character do you kind of track the most with?
Oh, that's really interesting to think about, because I'd never thought about like Noah before.
Yeah.
But I would probably say a little bit of both, being honest.
Yeah, and that happens a lot whenever we have, especially movies that are like two main characters. There's usually a little bit of you in one character and a little bit of you in the other character,
Yeah,
So,
I could actually see that a little bit.
Yeah.
Probably Allie the most, just because I think their love story is just absolutely beautiful, and the fact that they've kept going back to each other and things, but also Noah from the standpoint that he fought for that, right? Like he did not give up on that, and he fought for their love and what he was looking for. And I think I do see myself in that particular way, because the things that I want the most in life, I don't give up on, and I fight for what I want and what I believe in. I'm not scared to stand the test of time with it.
See, you may have actually accidentally bumped into Noah and not expected it, in this. And what I love about just what happened is whenever a person just starts talking about their movies, the gold just comes out of their mouth, naturally. because suddenly their heart kind of lights up and then their mouth starts joining in the conversation. And it's the way they view the movie. Like, we always ask questions that try to get, like, if I had the Notebook and you had the Notebook, we would try to figure out, well, what's different, about the way you see it. And I love what you said about Noah from the standpoint of just like that, he writes like 50 million letters to her that she never gets, and then just the persistence to make the house and stuff like that. So I would be asking you questions like, what is the house to you? Like, what is that a metaphor for you? Like, when have you built a house for someone else, as a metaphor, or, what does it look, who is Allie in your current life, as far as who you're not romantically pursuing, but maybe even in work, how are you pursuing that? So that would be the exploration. And then when we show a clip or we show the trailer, it'll just light it all up, like suddenly you'll see it through new eyes and you'll go, oh my gosh, yeah, like when he did that or when he said that, that is me, So that's the hope of what we would draw out even out of the Notebook for you. What are some of your other films?
Yeah, so Top Gun was one of the ones that came to mind too, and Maverick and Goose. The original Top Gun is the one that came to mind.
Yeah,
and then I was trying to think of a movie, Top Gun, maybe a little bit that kind of represents that visionary and integrator. Where Maverick for me is kind of that vision. He's the one that's like he's the one kind of driving the ship and driving the plane in this case, and kind of supporting and being that person for him. And so that was interesting to think about that one.
Well, and you've got two movies where I can already see a theme emerging of how, like you said, you relate to Allie and Noah. And then when the first thing out of your mouth was not, I love Maverick because he's flying out there, and he's top of the class, or, anything else that we've heard about Maverick. The first thing you said is, I love the relationship between Maverick and Goose. Now, we don't hear that often, It's usually people immediately identifying with, Maverick being a Maverick, and so the fact that you've already said two movies where you've got really strong bonds between people, just all of a sudden start building a picture for me of, probably why you love this community of integrators and visionaries, and probably why you love helping ladies, women, because they're sort of your, either your goose to their Maverick or their goose to your Maverick, or both, kind of thing. So does that make sense?
Because it was so interesting when you were talking about the Notebook and like, who are you building a house for? That was I got a little teary eyed because it was one of the things that I thought about was, how the house that we have built is her verse.
There you go.
And then the people were
sitting in your house. I'm right here in your house that you've built, Noah.
Exactly. Exactly. The women we're inviting in here, the relationship that we're building with them, and wanting to see them flourish and become their best. And so that was interesting when I heard you say that. It's kind of funny too, because the third movie that came to mind, which I don't know that this would be in my top 10, but for some reason it came to mind, was the movie The First Wives Club.
Interesting. So what do you think about that one? Like, how does that one connect? Is there any connection between all three of these concepts, or all three?
I think it's the relationships again, right? Like the relationship that these three women built with one another that, all three of them, when something happened in their lives that was so life-changing for them, instead of, reclusing and become, hibernating and isolating from themselves, they leaned in on one another. We are not meant to do life alone. And sometimes the people that we think are relationships with us, they may not be forever relationships, but the other relationships that we have in our lives, they mean just as much to us, as the ones that we expect, right? And so I was just thinking about how those three women, when hard times happened, they relied on one another, and how they really came together as a unit and worked together.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that would be really fun to explore further with you is, once you kind of go through these questions or answer different questions, and it just starts forming a picture of, obviously you've expressed a picture of just, the importance of support and the importance of relationship and long-term relationship and persistent relationship, but I would want to dig even further into that, so it doesn't feel very generic to you when you walk out the door, where you go, well, doesn't everybody want that? And I'd be like, no, this is why you're doing Herverse, like this is who you are, and so I would want to dig even further into just the dimensions of that, where, like, for example, maybe, Maverick and Goose kind of show you what it's like whenever like you said, whenever you lose someone, that is your support. Like, how do you navigate that? And then, like you said, with the last movie, Wives,
the First Wives Club.
First Wives Club. That is more. I haven't seen that one, so I'm just guessing. But it sounds like the way you described it is more of just that finding those relationships through that loss, or through that finding those ones that are true, that will be persistent through time. I don't know.
Very interesting to think about. And it was funny because I had not connected those dots until you mentioned the relationships, right? But I've done the unique abilities exercise. And I know, like, one of the three legs of my stool, one of the foundations of who I am as a person is relationships. And so it's interesting to, like, see how that's playing out in the movies that we talk about. Yeah.
And I always love it when all of a sudden Top Gun, meets The Notebook. It's like, what do these have in common? And then all of a sudden you go, oh my gosh, they're almost the same movie for me. Like, that's the thing that's so magical and beautiful about what I do, is that you just have these wonderful transcendent moments that for me, I'm a person of faith. So I go, well, that just was God who just did that, So, yeah, we kind of rely on those moments of transcendence that is just like, how in the world did my movies do this to me? So anyway, yeah, it's good.
Divine wisdom, right? Like, there's no one else that could have come from. I totally understand. Well, Bryan, one of the things I love about what you're doing is you're really building team atmosphere where people are coming together. They're getting to know each other at a very personal level. And so that they're not just coworkers who sit across the desk from each other or across the hall from each other, right? Yeah. Why do you think that's so important? Like, why is coming together as a team that knows each other on a personal level? Why is that so important in business?
Well, I think, the obvious answer is, you spend so much time with a person. But I also want to speak from just the standpoint of, gosh, we've been through so much disconnection. We've been through so much, division and stuff like that. And we went through COVID, everything else, like, I just want for everyone, no matter if it's at work or at home, to find each other again, to create these connections, to know what it's like to use those social skills again, and those muscles that we kind of lost a little bit. So those muscles are needed for communication and collaboration and everything else at work. Like, you have to do that, and especially with so much remote working and everything else. Like, there's just a need desperately in our world for connection. And so I don't think that that's limited to home. I think that is holistically the human condition we're in right now, that is necessary for us to do work well and to be productive. But, I'll also say it this way. We have a lot of folks who maybe they use the word family as a part of an insight they'll find. So maybe they have Christmas vacation, and the thing that they really pull out of Christmas vacation is just a devotion to family that Clark has, and he's willing to create these special moments for a family out of Christmas vacation. And I'll always turn it on people and go, all right, let's change the word family to either work family or team, and read back your insight as if it were Clark creates these special moments for my team, and I'm devoted to bringing on the Christmas lights for my team. And all of a sudden, whenever we break through that work, home barrier that the barrier that either people put up or barrier that people feel, then suddenly they go, oh my gosh, yeah, I guess I do put up Christmas lights for my team I didn't realize I did that. I definitely see it at home. Like I do that at home, and I'm not talking literal Christmas lights. I'm talking metaphorical.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden they'll see, oh yeah, I guess I am the one who kind of wants us to have a special moment and is the one in charge of team building for our team or something like that. Like, I guess I am Clark at work as well as Clark at home, you know? So I think that's the thing that is my passion, is just one, trying to break through the disconnection in all levels of our lives, human to human. And then also, allowing a person to see themselves as being holistically, at home and at work, something that can be expressed, like we may have people who are like, well, I'm kind of funny and I'm, you don't know this, but I'm funny at home, and I'm witty and all this kind of stuff, because it'll come out of their movies. And I'm like, why don't you think that would work at work? Like, why don't you think that people would want to see that part of you? And then of course the team's like, yeah, bring it on, kind of thing. So they get an invitation and permission to be that, that character. So yeah, it's I think it's an important question that you ask, which is, how much do we need our family to be our work family as well as our home family? And some in workplaces, people just don't want to do that. They don't want to share personal things. And I respect that. But I feel like that the idea of most human beings want to feel like they're seen. And it creates what I see people walk out of the door here is I see people, because it's movies and because they're talking about their movies and it's fun and they're not like having a therapy session or something like that. And they're not like sharing things that are personal because they were forced. They had the knob of vulnerability. They could share whatever they wanted, and they ended up sharing things. And when they walk out the door, I see their countenance just be lifted so far up, and you see the smile on their face. You see them leave because they feel seen, and they feel like somebody knows me, and they walk out the door more engaged on their team, which I know engagement is a big deal right now. And to me, that we've just got a sneaky way of creating that sort of appropriate vulnerability that leads to engagement, that is not, taking a test or doing a workshop that is, you should be more vulnerable at work or something like that. It's allowing them to have that knob of vulnerability and allowing it to come through a fun place like their own movies that they love already.
I love that. And I think you're right. I mean, we are not meant to be isolated people. That is just not how we are created. But the pandemic and working from home and so many other things have really led us to more and more isolation. And so having these experiences and being able to bring people back together is really important. So I applaud you, and I appreciate that you're helping companies do this. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. Yes.
Yeah. Well, this is a great way for us to transition our conversation to the 3 rapid fire questions, I love to ask.
Ooh, okay, bring it. Yeah, let's do it.
So the 3 questions, who is a woman of a past generation that you would love to honor?
Okay, sorry, I'm going to use my movies.
I love it.
So I'm going to cheat if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So Maria von Trapp is in Sound of Music in my movies, and I have drawn so much inspiration from her to affirm who I am and to really inspire who I am from scenes like when she's confronting the captain, where she's going, here's all the kids' hearts, and she describes every single one of the kids' hearts, and she says, see them, Captain, love your children, see these hearts. And all of a sudden I had a facilitator turn to me and she goes, Bryan, that's you. Like, this is why you do Real, is because you are trying so hard, especially for the team leader and for all the team to see the hearts of the kids, And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm Maria, And then, earlier in life, I had such a Maria moment where, I grew up Baptist, and desire was like a sin, like you stay away from desire. And I think Maria has that same thing where when she falls in love with the captain, she immediately runs to the convent and is like, oh, I'm going to devote my life to nunnery, And the lovely thing is Mother Abbess says, no, you got to go back. Like desire is not a sin. God wants us to have desires. Go back and explore this desire. And getting that permission and changing even my theology that God actually embraces our desires and wants us to explore our desires that he's placed in our heart was such a huge thing for me that Maria taught me, right? And then the last thing I'll tell you is that I just recently, we're doing date nights, and I have created these time machines out of all these antiques that I found in different antique stores. And I've pasted them together into these time machines that are these fun time machines for couples to go through. And all of a sudden I just was watching that scene again of Maria, and I'm watching her doing the play clothes, for the kids, and how she repurposed the play clothes to get them out of their straitjackets. And I went, that's what I'm doing here. I'm trying to get people out of their straitjackets, especially corporate teams. And I'm trying to get them to have fun. And I'm repurposing all these things to create play clothes for them, And so Maria has definitely been the woman who has connected all the dots for me as far as my purpose. So.
Love that. That is such a neat way to think about that movie and how it's connected to you. So I love that you're honoring her. What about empower? Who is a woman in business or in leadership that either empowers you to be your absolute most, or that you hope to empower?
Okay, I'm going to keep down the theme, because one of the strongest things that I found in my movie was Mary Bailey and It's a Wonderful Life, the wife in It's a Wonderful Life. And there was a moment, one of our questions is, what does support look like in your movies? And like, what's the best image of support? And it was Mary Bailey when she goes and rallies the town. And it's really off screen. Like, you don't really see her do this, but she just brings the whole town in at that famous climax at the end of It's a Wonderful Life, where she's the one who does it. She rallies the town. And for me, I love that so much. And I feel like the people who have empowered me, and specifically the women who have empowered me, which is usually the people I work around. I've had several CEOs who are women who have empowered me, and or even if it's salespeople, where I love it when someone goes behind my back. And they do things to provide, to give provision for me. If it's a sales thing where they're going, I love it when somebody does a word of mouth thing behind my back, where they're like, hey, I heard about, I get a person coming to me and they go, well, it was this person, who told me this about Real and stuff like that. And so some people don't like for people to talk about them behind their back, but for me, advocating behind my back instead of even in front of me, like I would be uncomfortable if somebody was advocating in front of me, but advocating behind my back and doing it in a way that provides, the town coming to me or the money I need to keep going or whatever. Like, that's the way I feel like Mary Bailey is kind of that empowering force for me.
Oh, I love that. That's so unique, and what a great way to share that. What about a woman of a future generation that you hope to inspire?
Wow. Okay, so I'll probably go off my top 10 list on this one. I'm going to go with my daughter's top 10 on this one. So my daughter, she's 21, and she is Riley in Inside Out. So she is that character. And we've always had a conversation through Inside Out has been our vernacular to talk about things. She is one of these she's one of these people who loves core memories, like everything. Like, anytime we're together, she wants to look at a video from our past or talk, like she just values core memories. Like, that's her gig. If you know Inside Out, that's what I'm speaking of. But she's also a person who really has a hard time adjusting in in different situations, and we moved, like literally moved right at the heart of her childhood. So from her going from like elementary school to middle school, she was Riley, like we moved, and it was not a better location, it was a stripped down location where she lost a lot of friends and things like that. So she lived Riley, and I was able to use Inside Out as a way for me to go, oh, I get what I need to do here. I get how I need to allow her to have sadness and joy. And I get her need to really hold on to those core memories of her childhood when we lived in this one place. And so it was definitely one of those movies that I was able to look at my daughter and go, okay, I understand where you're going, where you're headed. And then also I would just say this is good for any parent is, and specifically, well, no, I would say for your child is to really look at the growth of where their movies take them. So whenever she adds a new movie and is very inspired by another new movie, let's say she adds Barbie to her list, then, or if she adds Wicked to her list, then I am going to, which she did just recently, then I'm going to lean in as a dad and go, where are you headed with that? Where's your story headed with that? How is that different from, it seems like we've left behind Riley and we've moved on to Elphaba, or we've moved on to Galinda maybe, and understanding which one that is and why now and why she really resonates with that character is, so I picked my daughter and understanding her through her movies as well. So.
Oh, that's so cool. I love how you answered those last three those last three questions with movies, and such a unique way to do that. So thank you, Bryan. Again, I knew when we were going to have this conversation, it was going to be a really unique conversation that we would have. And I love what we were able to talk about. So I just want to thank you and again honor you for bringing such creativity to something that is so meaningful with team building and understanding people. It's so cool what you're doing, and I'm just so excited to continue our journey. And I definitely want to dive into my own movies and learn more about why my movies and all the questions. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
And if I can encourage you right back, I just want to say, when we leave this conversation, I want you to look at this picture right here and realize that you're Noah and you built the house for all these ladies to come into and your audience to come into, all these alleys to come into and really be able to see your love for them, So I want to encourage you as well that's the picture I see related to your movies. I see a literal house sitting in front of me in this picture and how you've built it, and hopefully all your audience of alleys will feel that love that you have for them like Noah felt for Allie.
Thank you so much. That means the world to me, more than I could ever say. So with that, again, Bryan, thank you. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. It was definitely very, very fun and insightful for me. And I can't wait to see you again next week.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of ConvHERsations with Kristie. I hope you're walking away with a few nuggets of inspiration, maybe a new perspective, or just a reminder that you're not alone in your leadership journey. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend, drop us a comment, or tag us with your favorite takeaway. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep showing up, keep leading with heart, and keep building the kind of life and leadership that feels true to you. I'll see you in the next ConvHERsation.